sometimes it's the cumulative ones that are subtle.
Yeah.
And like are sneaky.
Right.
You know? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you get injured, you're like, oh, I know exactly. You can trace it.
Uh-huh.
But when you can't trace it, it's hard because you're like, oh, shoot, it could be something that I've been doing since I was 15.
That's the crazy part. It's like some pains or even injuries or setbacks could be years in the making.
Years.
Right?
Yeah.
Which goes into like some of the recovery that we're always so big on doing, whether it's the ice baths, whether it's going to get a massage, an assisted stretch, something, because just because we were able to make it through a workout, we know that shit could creep up on us later.
Yeah.
Yo, thanks for locking in and welcome back to the Jyim Life Podcast. You got Jyima here and I got the homie Sophia with me.
So today we're going to talk about body aches and pains and whether you should work out through them.
It's super important. Let's vibe out.
What's up, Jyima?
So.
Hey.
What up? How we doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Living.
Yeah? Always.
Always.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
It was interesting yesterday when I came in, I saw you working with Yadira.
Yes.
How far along is she now?
She's very pregnant.
Very.
She's due in 2 months.
2 months?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And going hard?
Still going hard.
Still going
pacing,
hard.
But she's now doing 3 days a week. We started 2 days a week, and she's like, I want to amp it up to 3 days a week.
Wow.
I'm like, you're doing good. So, no major pain, no major issues. So
That's the biggest thing is checking in.
yes.
Right?
Very important.
It is funny. I think always, even with ourselves, like sometimes I'll see you in here and I can see like maybe you're nursing something where it's like you're not going at the same pace you usually do.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's different every day.
Every
You
day.
just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've had this like nagging issue with my right adductor. So like a lot of times when I'm kickboxing, doing things like that, even if I don't stretch the way I'm supposed to, then I'll notice it gets a little bit tight.
Yeah.
So then now through my workouts, I don't want to stop. Then I'm going to kind of like make an adjustment to the workout.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, because if not, if I just simply rest on it, I'm done for weeks, maybe even months at a time, right?
Yes. And I think a lot as trainers, like people assume that we know exactly, like we never deal with any pains or issues like that. But it's because that we learn to deal with them that we're able to like advise our clients.
Yes,
like,
yes, yeah. It's funny. I think, and I don't know if this is the same for you, but I learn so much sometimes from the things I deal with, like from when I sprained my ankle, from when I hurt my knee, from when I pulled a muscle, and I have to research it. I then learn so much that I can then teach the people that I'm working with.
Right, through your experience.
Yes.
You dealt with it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, that's how you really build that rapport, because it's like, this happened to me. I was out for 3 months.
Like, I see you. I feel what you're going through.
Yeah,
Trust me, we're going to get through this.
Been there. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
What do you think is the worst pain? I don't want to say injury, nothing that like completely set you back.
Yeah.
But what's the worst pain you've had that has like caused you to kind of alter your workouts?
Oh, for me personally, it was last year. I was experiencing a lot of pain in my left hip. But I think it was mostly... It's probably, I never got to the bottom of it, but one thing I knew, whenever I would run, I would experience that pain right away. Like right after running or like the day after, when it was just so painful that I could barely like squat sometimes.
Wow.
But luckily that has been it for me. But even that was annoying,
Yes.
Because I'm used to just moving. But I know it was because I was traveling a lot. Remember, I was like flying a lot.
That's huge.
So,
yes,
like,
at that
I would
time,
go from going hard, high impact, and then I would sit on the plane for 6 hours to 9 hours at a time. And then do my thing where I would be dressed in heels, I would perform in heels. And so all of that taken into account, I know for sure had a lot to do with the pain that and it was annoying. And it wouldn't go away. So that was that personally for me, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you knew the source, right? Like, which is a big part of it, is like kind of backtracking and seeing where that pain came from, what may have caused it, and what you did wrong.
Right.
All right, we're gonna have to talk more about this.
Okay, yeah.
But, so I'm gonna break down what we got going on for the workout today. I'm gonna grab some dumbbells and I'll show you.
Okay.
So I got 2 dumbbells. Usually I go a little bit heavier, but today I'm gonna go pretty light.
Okay.
First thing we're gonna do the workout, everything is gonna be reps of 10.
Okay.
We're gonna go lunge snatches. So we're gonna sit into the lunge. We're gonna go on the left side first. That means the left leg will be working.
Okay.
And then we're gonna push through the heel up into a snatch, right?
Okay.
So lunge, down, snatch. And we'll do 10 on each side. Once we do 10 on each side, we're gonna go to push-up jacks, right? So it'll be down. So we're gonna push up, feet out and in.
Okay.
Push up, feet out and in, right?
Okay.
And then after the push-up jacks, then we're gonna go to dumbbell squats, where we'll have both weights. We're just gonna rest them on the shoulders, and then we're gonna sit down for squats, and we'll go 10. And then last on that, we'll keep the 2 weights, and then we're gonna go for flies.
Oh, perfect.
Dumbbell flies. Everything will be 10, all right? So I'll let you pick your weights out. I'll set the timer, and then we'll get to it.
Got it.
You think you're going heavy or light today?
I wanted to say moderate.
Moderate?
Definitely not getting too light, because I definitely want to get a good workout in.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to look like I'm struggling.
That's important.
And feel
All right.
that left hip pain again. Like, see, you just...
So we'll start with our warm-up.
Okay.
Yeah, put these down. Get to the...
Warm-up.
All right, so we'll go adductor to ham. So we're gonna go shift to the left, shift to the right, and then reach down.
Okay.
And we'll keep that up for a minute.
Woo.
So I think backtracking is very important when you're trying to figure out because there's a big difference between pain being cumulative or pain being acute,
Yes,
right?
very.
So I think the number one indicator that either of us use when we're trying to figure it out is, do I remember a particular injury? Do I remember a time when I sprained my knee, or I may have torn a muscle in my hip, anything?
Right.
And if that's not the case, then you have to do some backtracking, just like you did with the, you said when you were traveling.
Yeah.
And then figuring out what may have caused that pain.
Right. Yeah, definitely important. Especially, sometimes it's the cumulative ones that are subtle.
Yeah.
And are sneaky.
Right.
You know? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you get injured, you're like, oh, I know exactly. You can trace it.
Uh-huh.
But when you can't trace it, it's hard because you're like, oh, shoot, it could be something that I've been doing since I was 15.
That's the crazy part. It's like some pains or even injuries or setbacks could be years in the making.
Years.
Right?
Yeah.
Which goes into some of the recovery that we're always so big on doing, whether it's the ice baths, whether it's going to get a massage, an assisted stretch, something, because just because we were able to make it through a workout, we know that shit could creep up on us later.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the number one thing that you look for in a client when, you're dealing with Meg right now, who's coming back from
A foot injury.
Foot injury, right?
Yeah.
So what's the number one thing you look for in terms of whether or not she should work out, whether or not she should work out, and what kind of workouts you do with her?
So her coming fresh off of an injury is...
Which she didn't even know too much about, right? So when we say foot injury, it's just like her foot swelled up.
Yeah.
And she didn't know.
She didn't think it was a big deal.
Wow. Okay.
And then it went from first week, or let's reschedule next week. Reschedule in a couple weeks. And then, oh shoot, 3 months later.
3 months later.
We're just now getting back to it. And I know for her, because she's such a beast, she's so hard on herself. It's like the toughest thing.
Right.
So I felt her pain. I was like, man. And then, but as a trainer, I'm like, I'm not gonna force you to come back earlier than you should.
Right.
You know? But first thing I look at, so especially that first time she came back after a long time, the good thing is she described to me where exactly the pain was. Okay. So it's like, okay, we're gonna just avoid certain
She was able to know exactly where the pain was.
Oh yeah,
right,
and she knew which exercises exactly to avoid for now.
Okay.
For now, so just immediately making those adjustments and then checking on her every single time as she's doing the workout. Okay, do you feel pain in your ankle? Do you feel that? Where, you know what I mean? So always just checking in. But Yeah, I mean, the only way to really go is to just take it slow.
Take it slow.
You know? And to assess.
And constantly check. So it's almost like if you, and the biggest thing is deciding whether or not you should be working out.
Right.
Once you decide to work out, I love what you said about constantly checking in. So you really can't even have too much of a concrete plan when you go back.
Yeah.
So let's say you've been hurt, you've been out for like a week or two, a couple of months in the case like Meg. You can't go back and do what you did before, but and I'm gonna sidetrack for a second and come back. The whole purpose of it is to stay consistent, right? Because if we stopped every time we had an ache and pain, then we would never reach like a place of consistency, right?
Exactly.
So this is when, and good, I'm gonna go chest openers up, and so it's like now you decide you want to be consistent because a lot of times lack of blood flow could prohibit the injury or the ache or pain from even healing.
From healing, yeah.
So you want to get up and start moving. So as you did with Meg, it's like, okay, what we're going to do is just test out certain movements and see what you can and can't do. And once we find out what you can do, okay, let's try to work that out the most.
Yes.
What were some things you found out that she could do while what foot is it, left or right?
I believe it's the right foot.
Right foot?
Yeah.
Okay. So while that's prohibiting her from doing everything she did before, what are some things you guys found out she could do?
Let's see. I mean, there's still a lot of upper body. We'll focus mostly on upper body and not putting so much weight on her ankle.
Okay.
So I would sit her on her bench so that there's not, even if she's curling, whereas usually it's standing up, right? She could do her curl, she could work on upper body without putting too much pressure on her ankle.
Makes sense.
Plank, she couldn't really do much of like where her toes are on where she has an arch on her feet.
Yeah.
Because that's directly affecting her.
So she couldn't even do anything.
So like downward dog, it's like, okay, maybe do 2. As soon as you feel something, like
lay off of it.
Yeah, lay off of it. So
all right, we go lunge snatch, we got 10.
Yeah. But you know what's so crazy?
What's that?
The whole time, right? Not the whole time, but the biggest takeaway for her, especially somebody who goes hard.
Which, I mean, and we really have to take a second, shout out Meg, because Meg is one of those who shows up to every session early, warming up, ready to go off. And
she don't play. She can
she goes
work
hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
She goes
like
hard.
If I told her to do 50 push-ups, she would.
She would knock it out.
Find a way.
She'll find a way to get it done.
She will find a way. She's like, okay.
Right. So you're saying?
But the biggest thing for her, she's like, oh, I know exactly how I got here is because I kept pushing myself and didn't voice when I would be in pain.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's the constant balance.
She would just take it because she's like trying to push us. So she's like, oh, that was the biggest lesson. So we're not doing that.
Right.
I'm like, well, it took a whole, injury, and it'd be like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For everybody.
Oh my goodness.
That's for her.
But you know what's funny? So you're highlighting what everything is about, right? In the sense where it's finding that balance where we got 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. So you're highlighting on one end of the spectrum, you have ache, pain, pushing too hard when you shouldn't, injuring yourself, being out longer. Yeah. On the other end, ache, pain, not doing anything, now it never even heals because you're not doing anything.
Right.
Right? So it's you don't want to go too far on either end.
Null and void. Like you went from like 100 to 0.
To 0.
Whereas
right?
if you had just stayed at 50 or 60, maybe 70 sometimes, you would have been able to be consistent with that.
Yes, that's huge. It's huge. All right, we'll go push up, Jack. We got 10.
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Then we got the dumbbell squats.
Okay. That's basically how I injured myself. Or like I felt that hip pain because I started getting into strength training and I got really excited with this program that I started.
Okay.
With booty building. It's like, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but I have to say it for the ladies because I don't want women to do the same, like make the same mistakes if
right.
you haven't done it already. And a lot of times we get excited with building certain muscle groups that we're like, we're gonna lift heavy. I'm like, I'm strong enough, I can do it. So I was lead lifting like way heavier than I normally do.
You normally do.
And I really think besides sitting on a plane and not mobilizing enough, that had a lot to do with it too. Because I started lifting heavy. And of course, when you're doing a lot of glute workouts, hips are directly affected.
Right,
so
right.
I'm like, I'm sure that had contributed to that.
Oh my God,
For sure, because I was so excited. So.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I think, and it's funny because you have different personality types, right? I think you have to be aware of your personality type. I know for both you and I, we share this personality where we feel like we can push through. So if you know that's your personality type, we should be more aware of the over pushing.
Yes.
Then if you're a person that knows, then under pushing. Then if you're a person that knows that you tend to look for a reason to kind of skip the gym that day,
right.
Then you want to look kind of towards that and make sure you're not doing that. Be aware. So
that's huge.
It's huge. So I think one thing, as you're talking about, which I have those moments as well, where I'm like, damn, I don't want to stop because then I'm gonna lose everything that I gain, so I got to keep going. And it's like it's checking when you do the movement, but more importantly, after you do the workout, do I feel better or do I feel worse? Right. There's no real gauge, no doctor, nobody can really tell you. No personal trainer can tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't be working out with the ache or pain. But you know yourself the best. If after you finish that workout, if you feel like, fuck, that didn't feel good, then that's maybe something that you don't want to do.
And I think a lot of times we glorify like soreness, like tightness, and it's like if you're super tight to the point where you're limited instead of being more mobile, like that should be a warning. You know what I mean? But we're like, oh, sore, like this is good. That's not always
That's not always good. It's not always good. And I would have to talk to our athletes for a second because, we've had a bunch of athletes through here. And then you work out super hard. I played basketball. Is that we have to kind of look at the long game, right? Where sometimes pushing through that soreness, through that tightness, through that fatigue, it's going to prohibit our gains, right? It's going to prohibit us from even actually progressing because now it's like we're not feeling good, we push, and now when we used to, like, let's say operate or be able to perform at a 9 or a 10, now just to get by, we're at a 7 or 6. When we would have rested, we would have been able to maintain our same performance.
Sustain that. So tell me, so for you, what has been a recent thing, or like what has been the most painful for you? You've been an athlete, like you're still doing hardcore workouts. Like now you're into Pilates, right? Like
I recently got into Pilates. You noticed that?
So what has been like an injury or like a huge pain, ache for you that has
Exercise
or limited you?
So it's funny. I think that it's a formula that I use with my clients is that you want to be at like let's say a 3-to-1 ratio, right? So for every 3 days of training, you should have a day of recovery. It doesn't mean you take a full day off, but you have a day of recovery. You have to. And for me, I didn't follow that rule, right? So that's a rule that I place out, and especially with me because I'm going hard, I took up kickboxing, took up wrestling, and then I just felt my body just tighter than usual.
Of course.
Right? And then you remember this time, so then I go off, I'm on a plane after that, right? As soon as I land, what do I do? As soon as I get off the plane, I'm going to work out. So I was tight from the kickboxing, tight from the plane, and then I go.
Too, like,
I knew, I felt it, but I was like, no, I got it, I'm fine. I know my body, I'm fine. So then I go while I'm tight. I try to do snatches while I'm tight, right? Completely, that hip was just gone. The hip was gone. Psoas completely gone. I could feel my lower back gone, right? And that was the worst one. And if I had to trace back, yes, I think it was the plane and the non-stretching, but I just didn't follow my recovery, which is the biggest thing. So I think that almost like the best way to fix something is to kind of, is to prevent it. Right? And the best way to prevent it is have a nice recovery routine. You know?
That's a discipline in itself.
Yes, that is. It is.
Because you're going against what you're normally wired to do.
Right.
What you see people doing.
Exactly.
You know?
6, we'll get 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I guess a bit of minor science is anatomy. Your muscles connect to your tendons connect to your bones. Those can become inflamed. Once they become inflamed, that's when you're susceptible for injury, right? Yeah. So this is my introduction to ice baths. Right. You know, we swear by ice bath, right? Yeah. And I think something as simple as going to take an ice bath and decrease that inflammation ahead of time, right? And once that inflammation is decreased, even going into a sauna to increase blood flow after and do some stretching and make that part of your routine, right? Yeah. That 100%. When I'm on that, I can do way more.
Oh, for sure.
I can do way more.
Immediately. Yeah. Immediately.
And 1, 2.
Yeah.
Then we get push-up plank jack. We got 10.
Okay.
Yeah. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Another one is working with Vic. He suffers with some plantar issues. And if anybody who suffers with plantar issues, you know that it can be chronic. Yeah. And the wrong move could have you out for months. Yeah. Right? So, and then we'll go squats next. We'll go 10. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Then we'll go right to the flies. We got 10. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Good. So now I think if you've been diagnosed with anything, a chronic issue, a doctor and physical therapist are imperative. Very. Just to get your guidelines. So for people who get tired of going to see the physical therapist, or they believe that it's annoying to see the doctor, you want to see them just to get your guidelines, what you can and can't do. Yeah. So for Vic, he knew what he could and couldn't do. He went and did some things he shouldn't. And now he was out for months at a time, which is always interesting, right? So now he's out months at a time. He doesn't get that much better. But now it's been 4 or 5 months, him not working out, starting to impede on his mental health, starting to impede on everything and how he feels. Yeah. So now we're figuring out a way, even though he's not to a point where he should be doing like full workouts, is ways to work around it. So now I've designed full workouts where he doesn't even use his feet. Wow. Legs are up, feet are off the ground. We're going through circuits, right? So let's say I'll even do this now for even some of the listeners that can help. So one of our circuits are that he sits on the bench, there's no weight on his feet. He's gonna do a bicep curl into a shoulder press, right? That's one. The next one from there, we'll lay the bench down. He'll do reverse crunches on the bench. Okay. Right? Wow. So now we got 2 moves in there where he's not putting any weight on his feet. Right. Then we'll do Bosu ball push-ups where his shins are on the Bosu ball so there's no weight on his toes. Okay. And he does push-ups there. Right? Okay. And then right from his knees, no weight on his feet as well, I'll hold the band on one side and he's gonna hold the band on the other and he's gonna go for rapid flies for his cardio, right? So now that's 4 moves right there where he has absolutely no weight on his feet. Because if not, he's looking at not working out for maybe even a year. Oh my God. At that point, you can't have it. Oh, he's done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you know how it is. You'll be a mess after that. Like, there's certain points. I mean, I've even trained a girl one time with a cast on. Because she was like, I need to move. Just need some, You need to move. So at worst case scenario, you see a doctor, you see a physical therapist, and I would say unless you're well versed in exercise or exercise science, whatever it is, even if you can't afford a trainer, go see that trainer just to get a program, right? Say, hey, you know what? I can't do 4 or 5 days a week, but could you design something for me that I can do? Because now with him, and now of course with the increased blood flow, he's starting to feel better already without impeding the progress on his foot.
I think this says a lot too, because a lot of times people don't realize that the working out is really good for your skeletal muscle health, bone density. So like, you don't want to rule out working out just because you have bone issues, you have joint issues. Sometimes like not working out is going to make that worse.
Yes.
Right? So, but there's definitely a fine line where you want to make sure that you're being guided through it. That's why it's you don't want to rule out working out unless you really like need to be on bed rest. Or
unless you're on bed rest,
Unless you're really like, you're in pain, like really like real pain. That's not good.
Yes.
And nerves but really like skeletal muscle, like the reason why we do strength training is for our skeletal muscles. Like it's for our longevity, bone density. So some people will just rule out working out just because they're like, oh, I'm injured, so I don't want to get injured further. But really, you're injuring yourself even more. Even more. Not using those muscles, not healing, delaying the healing.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we always talk about, is just consistency over intensity, right?
Yes.
Like you can't undervalue the impact and the benefits of working out 6 days in a row at, let's say, 60%, then versus that one day of like 80 or 90%. Right? Yes. So, and we've all faced this. We had to break this down to people. It's a Monday. You've had a long work day. You feel a little off, and you're like, you know what? I don't have a full hour to work out. Get 15 minutes. Get that 15. We always. There's a group of us that believe that 15 minutes does nothing. Right. If that 15 minutes keeps up your keeps your thing moving, then you have to stay with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're back, right? All right. We got snatch.
Yes.
Yeah. Snatch
and push-ups.
Okay. Lay down.
Yeah, no, this is good, because even when you think about people that don't work out but live a very healthy, active lifestyle in those blue zones, they're active like constantly.
Right.
And a lot of times they're stronger than people that do work out.
Right.
You know, but that's because it's just already embedded in their lifestyle.
Yes.
It's a daily thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was in Japan, right? My home. My home, Japan. If anybody knows, I've been there once, and that's my home now. I love this place. So when I was back home in Japan, what we do there.
What y'all do out there?
What we do on top of
what y'all do? What do you guys do?
On top of eating fresh sushi and being super clean, right? Super clean. But no, what I noticed when I was visiting, that was 2 and 1. Good. And then we get the push-up plank jacks. What I noticed was super interesting. They don't really have a big workout culture when I visited, right? So this hotel, as big as the hotel was, the gym was probably like 10 feet. It was so small. And I was like, Jesus. And then I'm asking people about gyms, and there's not that many gyms around, right? Right. So then I'm wondering, why is everybody in shape? How the hell are they in shape? Yeah. And there's no gyms. This is ridiculous. Right. Is there a trick? Is there? You know? 4 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And then we'll go to squats. But then I realized after like the 3rd, 4th day is that every time I went to go get something to eat, I walked. I walked there, I walked back. And every time I walked, the streets were crowded. Everybody was walking, riding bikes. So now you have to ask yourself, if they're not doing any crazy CrossFit or intense workouts, and everybody is in good shape, right? Right, heart rate at 150, go, right? They're not doing any of that stuff, but they're in good shape. It's just the consistency of them moving every day, you know what I mean?
And really the lifestyle, the stress management, right?
Oh, yeah.
Keeping the body fat at a low.
Flies.
You know, a low percentage.
Yeah.
So, those are some key factors, right? Mm-hmm. So, moving so first of all, no crazy intense workouts. So you're in Japan, no crazy intense workouts. Yeah. Nobody's killing themselves with CrossFit or spin or any of those things, but everybody's in pretty decent shape and they live long, healthy lives. Yeah. It's because they're riding bikes, they're moving daily. Yes. Second thing is that they're not really on this crazy restrictive diets. Yeah. Everything is just clean. Yeah, you're right. So it's like, you're eating sushi, rice. Not a lot of processed food. No, processed foods. No processed foods. Yeah. So you have those combination of things. It's not really this huge, complicated thing we make it out to be. Right. You know? Right. I think we have to work extra harder out here because we're more exposed to processed foods and inorganic foods and all of that crap. Right. You know? Yeah. So it's like, we gotta make up for it by working out. Not because really it's a culture, but because we're exposed to those things, which is so sad because we're working extra hard. Just to burn off shit that's not food. Shit that's not food. You know? What's your favorite recovery routine? So let's talk preventative. Yeah. What's your favorite group of recovery actions to put together to make sure you're not really hurting yourself? For me or for my clients? For you. Me personally, my ideal recovery routine would definitely incorporate yoga. Yoga, okay. For sure. Yoga, cold baths. I do take cold showers in the morning. Exercise. Okay. But a cold plunge is just so it's everything. Everything. Yeah, because you're not only taking care of physical recovery, but also mental, what's it called? The resilience. Yes. It's very psychological. Oh, yeah. So for me, that and recently it's been long walks. I'll take long walks. Sometimes I'll come back from the bridge, I'm just taking a walk for an hour. Yoga, ice baths, and long walks. Yeah. Ideally, on a good week. Or an ideal situation for me. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I would have to say, for me, it's definitely making sure I am watching processed sugars and eating anti-inflammatory foods. That's huge, right? Yes. And I know sometimes we don't draw that connection, right? There's certain foods that cause inflammation. Oh, for sure. Right? Yeah. So those, and we could point at processed sugars, of course, as one of them. So whether it's soda, cakes, desserts, even if it's just making the switch to say, you know what, this week, let's not have any. No processed sugars for the week, you gotta give your digestive system a break because it's constantly processing processed food. It's like going on a treadmill for every day. It's I'm tired. It's tired. And your body's and you want me to make sure you don't get injured? I quit. I'm out of here. You know what we doing? I'm out of here. It's too much. You can't keep up anymore. You're on your own. Yeah, you're on your own. So it's definitely making sure, in addition, I don't really eat a lot of processed sugars, but I'm just super aware of that, right? Yes. And then the second part would be definitely increasing healthy fats and proteins. Yes. So whether it's salmon, olive oil, almond butters, avocados, making sure I'm having those nuts. You know me, cashews. Cashews all day. All day. Bring me some cashews, man. Cashews? 4, 3, 2, and 1. So watching what I eat, increasing healthy fats. The second part is staying hydrated, right? Yes. Super hydrated. And then, of course, is the cold plunge. Yeah. Right? And building up my tolerance to do 6-7 minutes, cold plunge. And I have to say the contrast is my favorite. Yeah. Going from the cold plunge to the sauna. Yeah. So cold plunge, watching what I eat, staying hydrated. 4, get 3 more. Okay. 3, 2, and 1. Good. That's huge. Yeah. I love that you mentioned food because a lot of times when people think active recovery or whatever, they don't think really about food and inflammation. No. Right. And I realize those small things are what contribute to those aches and pains. Yeah. Maybe just making that adjustment. And then last, and we live with this thing here at the gym, is grabbing that Theragun. I try to use that Theragun before and after each workout. Yeah. Right. Here we go. Yeah. It's almost like a ritual, right? Oh, yeah. 9, 8, 7. But it does make a big difference. Oh, yeah. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good.
And I was gonna add too. I think for people that don't have the luxury or aren't still able to make the time to do those like cold baths and yoga or stretching or food or whatever. Even just incorporating like a 5-minute stretch before and after your workout consistently. Yeah. Those things can help too. Yeah. You know, like you're saying Theragun. Yeah. Those things help. You know?
It's huge. I'm gonna add on to that. On top of that 5-minute little stretch, if you can't get to a Theragun, is even before and after work. So here we are, you drive to work, you sit in the office all day. It's a breeding ground for injury.
Oh, for sure, already.
Right?
Yeah.
5 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, then we'll get flat.
Yeah, whether you're sitting all day or standing up all day at work, it's still, we were just talking about that earlier.
Oh yeah.
Neither one is good.
Neither one. And I always see these little memes about, you know, when you're out of your 20s and you hit your 30s, how you have more aches and pains. And I always challenge clients when they say that. I'm getting older, I just turned 30. I'm like, it's not that you just turned 30, it's that your lifestyle's drastically changed.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you have to look at. Yeah. You know, you're not moving around as much as you did before. Yeah. Right? So if you're over there and you're sitting down all day, on top of that, you used to walk and go to class or walk to go see your friends. All these things that you did before, you don't do anymore. That's the reason why you have aches and pains. It's not just because you got older.
Yeah, and you can easily debunk that. When you look at people in their 60s, 70s that are killing it. They have crazy, like their bodies are insane. Yeah. Like Jada Pinkett Smith's mom.
I didn't see. Yeah.
She's what, like 70 or almost 80? Her body is insane. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I have no excuse. Like, you can't throw the number in there anymore. Right, you can't. I'm 30, 40. No, that's a choice.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
Really a choice.
And I get it in the sense where it's like you may not have the liberty to do as much as somebody who has like free time, let's say, to do it. Right. But don't undervalue the little bit you can do. Yeah. It's not saying you won't get there to, let's say, Jada Pinkett's mother, but it'll just take you longer.
It'll just take longer.
Right? Yeah. So it's like if somebody has, you know, an extra 2 to 3 hours a day, maybe you don't have that 2 to 3 hours a day to work out. Right. Maybe you have 20 minutes. Yeah. So you won't get there in a year. It may take you 2 years. Yeah. But guess what? 2 years is coming whether you do it or not.
Right.
So you might as well just do that 20, 30 minutes a day. Yeah. Watch the food and then go get into that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because 2 years is going to come by whether you stop time or not. So how do you want to spend those like next 2 years?
You know what I mean?
You know? And if you're really that serious about your health, you're gonna really look at what's like your environment, you know, who's influencing you, what's influencing you from making that change or not making that change, making that change, right? So it's like if it was really that important to you, like you would do it.
Yeah, but I think the major thing, it's always about the belief you have around certain things, right? So a lot of times people will look at making that change or doing things and they'll say, I can't because. The minute you have that because, right? That's when things begin to become a challenge.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's why I always make sure I put these stretches at the beginning, at the end of the workouts, so people get in the habit. Yeah. Get in the habit of just, and then we'll go down to the plank, full body.
Yeah, no, you have to. Even if it's the same stretches.
Even if it's the same stretches. Even if it's the same stretches.
There's a warm up and a cool down.
Oh yeah. So, I recently, as you know, of course, started taking Pilates. Yeah. And I think, and I've never really taken Pilates before because I thought it was too slow. But I feel so much better after taking it. And I still keep my regular workouts, but I just added that in. Yeah. Which I think is huge in addressing aches and pains. Yes. Is it maybe you need to add a yoga class, and maybe you need to decrease a weight training day. Yeah. Maybe if you're taking, and this is a huge thing, look at what you're doing consistently. Like a lot of times if you're taking spin classes, that is very aggressive on the hips.
Very.
And when you have tight hips, that can lead to knee pain.
Yes.
That's something for people to really understand. I'm gonna say that again. There's a thing called bad neighbor syndrome, right? So a lot of times the ache or pain that you're feeling, if it wasn't a particular injury, it comes from someplace around.
Yep.
So you're feeling knee pain. Well, that's because your hips are tight as hell.
Right.
So as you're walking, your hips aren't doing the job they're supposed to, and now your knee's getting more impact.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or lower back pain. It's not your lower back, it's your hamstrings that are tight, hips that are tight.
Yes.
It's just so, everything is connected, right? So that's like one of the major examples of how tightness or injury could be caused by something that is either like cross-lateral, or just like the next joint that might be
that's right there.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's something always to go as you're troubleshooting your ache or pain. And next we'll squat and then pivot. As you're troubleshooting your ache and pain, if it's something that kind of creeped up on you, check to see if prior to that somewhere else in your body was tight.
Yeah.
So I think particularly knee pain, lower back pain, because a lot of people deal with that. If you don't remember a particular time of you injuring your knee or a particular time when you injured your lower back, kind of look at your hips. Maybe you need to go and get stretched out.
Right.
I don't know if people have stretch labs where they are, but that helps. A yoga class helps. Even going on and finding a hip opener class on YouTube just to kind of stretch out. Those are the things you want to look at. And as you pointed out, your hamstrings.
Yes.
Right?
And a lot of times it has to do with muscles that are underactive. So it's not just stretching, but also strengthening those muscles.
Yeah.
So people could do glute bridges all day and not feel it in their butt. We know as trainers because it's underactive. But so it's not just stretch. You want to stretch, but also strengthen at the same time.
Yes.
But no, the other thing, and maybe we should do another topic on this, is inflammatory foods.
Oh, yeah. What we were talking about. Yes. Woo. Yeah, that's
right?
big.
That's a whole nother topic because people usually think, okay, it's a workout, it's a stretching, but literally the food that you eat could be the very thing that's preventing you from healing from that injury.
Yeah. And so not leaving you completely blank, but like processed sugars is one, but also foods that contain high sodium or salt. So just kind of pay attention. And if you want to, I think it's always good to change your diet to strictly a whole foods diet for a week and incorporate foods you used to eat one by one. So for 7 days, I would say only whole foods. That means carrots, sweet potatoes, whether it's carrots, sweet potatoes, broccoli, kale, fruit, all these things that you could have that are just that particular food. Have that for a week and then incorporate your other foods one by one.
Yes.
Oh, good. Damn, go shit today, homie.
Hey, that was good.
Yeah. So make sure we're stretching before and after.
Right.
Make sure that me and you are keeping each other on point when it comes to our recovery. Did you guys start this week?
Right. I'd be like, Jim, remember that time you were at the airport and you had to ask for help? Yeah. You do not want that again.
Never again. Hey, all right. Till next time, homie.
Okay, till next time.
Peace.